Welcome to another edition of E.W. Jackson for President. Great to be with you again today. Well, this is a very important day in some ways. It is a marker. So I've got several things I want to talk to you about today in the time that we have, because tonight, of course, is the RNC debate. I want to come back to talking about that in a second. But first, I just want to mention that I'm now on Instagram. And so those of you who are on Instagram prefer to watch me there. You can watch me there. I usually come on there a little bit, a couple minutes early, and make a few personal comments as I did this morning. So just want to make you aware of that. You can go to Instagram and catch the program on Instagram as well. Hello to my Instagram audience. You know, I am so glad. My son is responsible really for sort of getting me more in tune with Instagram because frankly, I found it somewhat inscrutable. But I'm now using it, and I'm really glad because it means that I'm reaching some of the younger people who are watching Instagram, and I really want to reach them. Because look, what I want to say to these young people is, you know, this fight we're engaged in is not for self-aggrandizement. It's not for some kind of ego gratification. And to tell you the truth, the benefits of what I and other patriots are doing will not inure primarily to me, because I'm in well, really the fourth quarter of my life. And I don't mean that to be macabre. I mean, it's just the reality. I'm 71 years old. I'm not going to live another 71 years. But I hope to hand off a country that is better even than the one that I inherited for my granddaughter, for your children, your grandchildren, and for you young people watching right now. Don't let anybody convince you that the legacy of being an American is something to be ashamed of. You know, we are part of the greatest experiment in liberty in the history of mankind, and it has worked for almost a quarter of a millennium. Now, all those people who do nothing but criticize our country, you know, I have to say, you got a bunch of people criticizing folks who laid the foundation to build the greatest nation in human history, and they couldn't even build the dollhouse. I mean, let's think about it. Black Lives Matter, how horrible America is, and America's racist, and America needs to be recast. They raised $100 million. What did they do with it? What did they do with it? Squandered it on a bunch of nonsense. They bought mansions that once belonged to communist leaders in Canada. They entered into $1 million contracts with their relatives to provide security. I mean, it was just, look. That's why I said from the very beginning, I will not in any way endorse, support, in any way lend my name to the effort. You know, well, but I understand, but the concept. No, even the concept was a lie. Because these people did not believe that Black Lives Matter, because if they did, they would be speaking up now for the thousands of black folks who are murdered in the streets of our cities all across the country by black criminals who are often allowed to roam the streets by George Soros prosecutors who are paid by George Soros, financed by George Soros to go out there and create chaos and anarchy in the streets of our cities, which, by the way, works to the extreme detriment primarily of black Americans living in the inner city. So what did they build with all that money? Zip. Zero. Nothing. Travel around the country and go to these inner cities and ask them, did Black Lives Matter do anything for you? No. No, they're too busy laying up in Canada in mansions that were built by communist leaders, the heads of the historic heads of the Communist Party. I mean, give me a break, folks. You young people, you've got something to be so grateful for and frankly so proud of that you are Americans. I saw these snippets of interviews with young people during the Olympics. Are you going to support the American Olympic team? No. You know, now here again, not all, but some of them. No, I'm not going to support a team just because they're from where I live. In other words, no concept of the beauty and the privilege and the blessing of citizenship in a constitutional republic. You try that kind of comment in communist China, you disappear that night, maybe never to be heard from again. But in this country, you've got the freedom even to be stupid. And the government can't do anything about it. Well, part of my job is try to persuade you otherwise, to persuade particularly, well, everybody, but particularly our young people, not to follow these stupid leftists with their cockamamie ideas about life, about the climate, about the country, about the border, about crime, everything. You know, Ronald Reagan used to say, you know, it's not that liberals don't know anything, it's that everything they know is wrong. And he was absolutely right. Pretty much everything they know is wrong. So glad to have our Instagram audience with us. Now, let me come back to the 800-pound gorilla in the room. There's going to be a debate tonight in, I guess, Milwaukee. I haven't really paid much attention to it because even though we've been working to qualify for the debate, I have been working at an extreme disadvantage. And the extreme disadvantage is I have been boycotted by the legacy media and sadly even by conservative secular media. They have not even acknowledged my candidacy, which is, it's inexplicable to me. It really is. Other than they simply don't want God talk. And I'm talking God. I'm saying America doesn't work without God. America has no future without God. America cannot be blessed unless we are a nation whose God is the Lord. Period. Exclamation point. And that's not a discussion that most people want to have. They don't want to be told that you are committing murder when you abort a baby, because that baby is made in the image and likeness of God and bears the imprint of God on his or her being. And notice the precision of my language there. His or her being. And you are committing an offense against humanity and an offense against Almighty God when you destroy that unborn baby before it even has a chance to live the same life that you and I live. We all went through the same stage. And they don't want to hear that we're made in the image and likeness of God. They don't want to hear that, you know, homosexuality is sin, because a lot of these conservative outlets, they've embraced homosexuals. And look, if you've ever heard me expound on this, I don't want anybody deprived of a job. I'm not interested in anybody being deprived of housing. I'm not interested in anybody being thrown out of a university. I'm not interested in suppressing people, destroying people. People can live however they want to live. I want to persuade people there's a better way to live if they're caught up in homosexuality and transgenderism, which is spiritual and mental and emotional sickness. I want to persuade them otherwise. But I'll defend their right to live as they see fit if they're not hurting anyone else in a constitutional republic. But what I won't allow is for them to try to impose that lifestyle and that worldview on the rest of society, on our children, on our schools, on our colleges and universities, on our corporate offices, on everything. I mean, we are really in a Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego moment where the secular, atheist, Marxist, socialist king, which is Satan, who is ruling and reigning over these people, is telling them, I'm creating some music and you better dance. When you hear the music of homosexuality is okay, it's great, it's fine, it's good. When you hear the music of transgenderism is good, it's right, it's because some people are born in the wrong body. When you hear the music of, yeah, it's a great thing, celebrate. That's Oprah Winfrey recently coming out. I tweeted about it. Oprah Winfrey recently coming out, talking about shout your abortion. You know what that says? Just shout to God. I don't care what you say. You don't rule over this world. You don't rule over my life. And you don't have anything to say about me killing unborn babies. I'm proud of it. And I'm glad to do it. And I'm going to shout it. I tell you what, it's a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the living God. And that's exactly where they're going. They're going to land in a fiery hell where the worm does not die and the fire is not quenched. And it doesn't matter, Oprah, whether you believe in hell or not. Doesn't matter whether you believe in heaven or not. Doesn't matter whether you believe in Jesus or not. You keep that up, that's exactly where you're going. You know, she likes to play the little pseudo-Christian deal, you know. Oh, yeah, I love gospel music. Yeah, okay. Won't be any gospel music in hell. And being proud of killing unborn babies, that's a quick ticket to hell. Say, but I thought you know, as long as you accept Jesus. Yeah, but you can't accept Jesus and be proud of killing unborn babies. You're lying to yourself and you're lying to other people if that's what you think. Besides that, Oprah Winfrey, for example, has not accepted Jesus Christ as her Lord and Savior. She does not believe that Jesus Christ came to die on the cross for anybody's sins. As I said before, I will say it again. You won't hear any other presidential candidate say it, and I say it because it's important that people know it. Oprah Winfrey is nothing but a modern witch. That's all. She is a new age maven. That's why I say all the time, just because somebody's got money, just because they've been successful at a particular thing, doesn't mean they're wise. And doesn't mean they know something that everybody else needs to know. And this is where these billionaires, these high-tech billionaires, and these other people with a lot of money, the arrogance of riches. They think, oh, well, look, I've done this. I'm smart about everything. So Bill Gates says, look, I built Microsoft. I can lop off 3 billion people on the planet and save the planet by reducing the Earth's population. Look how smart I am. No, you're a fool. You just happen to be a fool who's good at building computers or good at building, creating software for computers. But other than that, you're a fool. A complete, utter fool. So, look, the reason why I'm being boycotted is the kind of talk you're hearing from me right now. You're not going to hear that from any other candidate. I don't know whether you all saw it, but I confronted Perry. We should have that up on our social media, but I confronted Perry when he talked about freedom and the Declaration and the Founding Fathers and never mentioned that they said we are endowed by our Creator. And I confronted him on it, and he went to sweating bullets. He really did. And he finally relented. I'm a Catholic, and Jesus Christ is, but, you know, look, I knew that was just window dressing. You know, it's not what you say when you are confronted. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And he never even acknowledged God in anything that he said, not once. And then suddenly when I confront him, it's, oh, yeah, well, I'm a Catholic, and you know, save it. Save it. You're not going to hear anybody else say, folks, that America does not need a Hindu as president or vice president. And we don't. And you Christians better wake up. Look, the Bible says, judge not by appearance, but judge righteous judgment. So you can't say, well, look, he's a minority, he's wealthy, made a lot of money at a young age, he's very articulate, he's very smart, obviously. Boy, he sounds good, seems to get most of the issues right, but you can't be right and believe in 5,000 gods. Jesus said, judge not by appearance, but judge with righteous judgment. Now, I don't hate him. I love him. I pray for him. He's a fellow American. I don't want him hurt, harmed, punished. Nothing bad to happen to him. But he cannot be the leader of our country. He can't. He can't be in the vice presidency. He can't. Because to do that, you know what that's like to me? Voting for Vivek Ramaswamy is just like lighting up the White House in rainbow colors and saying to God, we don't need your counsel, we don't need your advice, and we don't need you. We'll make our own way, thank you very much. There's a way that seems right to a man, but the ways thereof are the ways of death. So, I'm not going to watch the debates tonight because there's nothing that they have to say that is going to change me, move me, inform me. I know what they all stand for. I've read enough about them to know. And it's going to be pablum. Okay? So let me say a couple things. I've got a homework assignment for you. But first, let me say something about something I said yesterday I want to repeat today. I am the most conservative candidate in this presidential election. Let me say that again, because I've looked at the policies of every single candidate, and by the way, this includes Donald Trump, and you all know the great respect I have for Donald Trump and his service to the country and his 4 years as president. And I'm not going to be one of these people whose whole, no part of my campaign is about attacking Donald Trump. Now, let me make that clear. And let me explain why. He said, well, you're a candidate. Don't you have to attack him? Well, if I do, then I won't win. Too bad, because I'm not doing it. And here's the reason why. I just feel too much gratitude for what he did the first 4 years. I really do. And I respect it immensely. Now, he didn't do everything perfectly, and I've got some criticisms of a couple things that he did. And like a lot of people, I wish he had a different style, but he doesn't. He's Donald Trump, and that's just that. You just deal with it. People say, well, if you think that highly of him, well, why in the world are you running? I'm running because I believe that he did a great job 4 years ago as president, but I don't believe he's the right person to serve as president next. I believe I am. That's why I'm running. I believe I'll make a better president than Donald Trump, Rick DeSantis, and go down the line. I believe I'll make a better president, and I've said why, okay? So let me just reiterate. Because I am the only person who says the first thing I will do when I step into the Oval Office to help govern this country for the next 4 years will be to say, oh God, to pray the Solomon's Prayer, oh God, I do not know how to go out and come in among this great people, but give me wisdom that I might govern rightly. Give me wisdom that I might know what to do. I'm not asking for riches. I'm not asking for fame. A president already has it. But I'm asking for wisdom. See, because I believe that anybody who thinks that they can govern this country without the guidance and direction of Almighty God is a fool that should be nowhere near the White House. And I really believe that among all the candidates, I'm the only one who understands this deeply and profoundly and would conduct my presidency on that basis. George Washington will be prominent in my administration because George Washington said in his first proclamation, it is the duty of all nations to acknowledge the providence of Almighty God, to obey his will, to be grateful for his benefits, and to humbly implore his favor and protection. That was good for the first president of the United States. It'll be good for the 47th president of the United States. As they say, paraphrasing, if it was good enough for George Washington, it's good enough for me. So I am the most conservative candidate in this race, and yet the mainstream media doesn't want to acknowledge that. I need your help to make them. We're going to force them to acknowledge it. There won't be any apologies, but we're going to force them to acknowledge it with your help. So here's the homework assignment I have for you. Assuming that you're going to watch the debates, I don't know whether you are or not. I'm not. I'm disgusted with the whole process, frankly. And even though I want to get on the debate stage, I know that it's inherently unfair. And the only reason why I want to get on it is because I've just got to have the American people know that I'm in the race, because I believe if they know that I'm in the race, they will select me as the nominee. The Republicans, I should say. The Republican activists and rank and file folks out there, if they know that I'm in the race and they hear what I stand for and they hear me and get to know me, they're going to select me as the nominee. Of course, I believe that. And by the way, I've said before, let's just assume for the moment, and again, no ill will intended, so don't get the wrong impression. But let's just assume for the moment that Donald Trump was not in the race, okay? He dropped out, whatever. For some reason, he was not in the race. Again, no ill will intended. Don't want the man to be harmed. Don't want anything to happen to him, anything like that. But let's just for the sake of discussion. There are others in this race who could not win the nomination ever. Not in 1,000 years. I'd like to think Vivek is at the top of that list. Larry Elder can't win the nomination. He's pro same-sex marriage and pro same-sex adoption. That's been an oppression against Christians, punishing Christians because they wouldn't use their adoption services to put children in homosexual homes. And he supports it. Perry can't. I just explained. Perry thinks if you just get the budget under control and all will be well. I mean, you come on. Chris Christie can't because Chris Christie is a one-note wonder. I'm against Donald Trump. I hate Donald Trump. That's all Chris Christie's got to say. I mean, he's not going to get nominated. Who am I leaving out? Mike Pence is not going to get nominated because people have found out he's a weak sister. He's weak. I mean, and I've met the guy. I don't know him well. I'm not trying to pretend I do. But I mean, I've met him on more than one occasion. I like him personally. But I don't want to entrust the country to him because I believe he's weak. And under pressure, he'll fold. He did it in Indiana. He did it during the election of 2020. He'll fold. He's not courageous. The Republicans are not going to nominate him. So who's left? Well, you can run through the numbers. Some of them are not really solidly conservative. I can tell you that. William Hurd's not going to. I mean, he has zero. The people I just named, you have zero chance. Okay, and I'm not exaggerating. Zero chance of winning the nomination. That cannot be said of me. If the mainstream media stops boycotting me and people know that I'm in this race, and this, again, just for the sake of argument, Donald Trump dropped out, Katie barred the door. Because I believe that the Republican base would gravitate to me. They're not gravitating to the people I've just named because they don't like their policies. They might like them personally, like I said. And some of them I know. They seem like nice people. But I don't want to put them in charge of the country, in charge of the government. So here's my assignment. Here's what I'm asking you to do. If you watch the debates tonight, and some of you might, I'm not trying to start a boycott or anything, but so if you watch the debates tonight, before you watch the debates, I want you to go to my website, go to my issues page, and read the 10 issues. By the way, there's one issue that I left out. I've got to put something in there about the Second Amendment because, as you all know, I am a very, very avid defender of the Second Amendment. I'm a gun owner. I love shooting. I'm what you would describe as a shooter, okay? And I don't want anybody messing around with our Second Amendment rights. I believe that right is just as fundamental as the right to free speech and freedom of religion and due process and all the rest. In fact, some argue that without that right, you're not in a position to defend the rest. So that's something we got to correct on the website, and we'll get to that probably this week and add that in there because people have asked. You realize, don't you, I'm more conservative on the border than even Donald Trump. So wait a minute, Donald, because look, I am the only candidate who has said for the border, not only would I have a zero tolerance policy, you finish the wall, you equip the wall with every kind of surveillance possible so that we can monitor it closely. You have a zero tolerance policy, meaning that if you get into our country illegally, all this asylum stuff comes to an end. You apply for asylum in your own country, you apply for asylum somewhere else. You can't cross our borders on the basis of seeking asylum when we know that 95% of those asylum cases are bogus. It's not real. It's just a way to create an open borders policy. So that comes to a screeching, grinding halt. If you come into our country illegally, you are forever banned from citizenship. We will have a zero tolerance policy and we will deport anybody who comes into the country illegally. And by the way, an end to the mythology of dreamers. I've always resented that. They say, well, what about the American people? What about our children? What about our grandchildren? What about our great-grandchildren? Are they not dreamers? How do you become a dreamer because your parents break the law? Now, I'm not saying that you as a child are responsible for the fact that your parents broke the law, but you shouldn't get any privileges for it either. I mean, like your son, they're heroes, they're dreamers. Well, why? What did they do? They were dragged here by their parents illegally. So, right, we don't punish them. because we understand they didn't make the decision, but we don't reward them either. I mean, this is like saying somebody's parent commits murder and goes to jail, and then we say, oh, well, then let's make the child a millionaire. Well, we're not going to punish the child for what the parent did, but we don't go find the child and reward the child in some way either. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's not realistic. That mythology ends. So you'll never have a sleepless night if you come here as an illegal immigrant, because we're going to hunt you down and we're going to deport you. And I'm going to fully staff the Border Patrol and fully staff ICE and charge them with the responsibility of finding illegal immigrants. And as for the corporate world, your days of violating our immigration laws with impunity are over. You are undermining the wages of the American people. You are undermining the rule of law. And if you hire illegal immigrants, I'm going to see to it that you are punished not only civilly, but I want to see criminal statutes put in place that say if you consort with others to violate our immigration law, you are as guilty as they are, and you are subject to criminal penalties. And last but not least, I propose a constitutional amendment that says you are not a citizen of this country because you are born here. You are a citizen of this country if you are born to at least one parent who is one biological parent who is born now, because you can't be born to an adopted parent. So you're born to one biological parent who is a citizen of the United States. Then you are a citizen no matter where you're born. If you're born in Italy, but you're born to a biological parent who is an American, you are an American citizen. But if you are born in this country and neither parent is an American citizen, neither are you, and you're going back to where your parents came from. No more anchor babies. I am the most conservative candidate in this race, bar none. Now, that's just a fact. I talked to, I'll end with this, a little interesting story, because, I'm on the phone calling people, raising money. Pray for me, because I got to do that about 4 hours a day. I got about 3.5 hours in yesterday to get quite to 4. Whew. Boy, that's an interesting thing to do. But it's part of the process. If you're going to run for president or any office, you got to do it, and I'm doing it. So I talked to a guy yesterday, and he was a little reluctant. He said, well, it's early, blah, 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 I'm not sure. And then I laid out for him, he said, well, one thing, I want to secure the border. This illegal immigration stuff has got to stop. And I laid out my plans for illegal immigration to put a halt to it, and then talked to him about a couple other things. So when I hung up the phone, when I thought I hung up, I didn't hang up. It was a mistake, just an honest mistake, because I'm using technology. I'm not, with the phone up to my ear. I'm talking into my computer. My computer's doing the dialing and so forth. And I got an assistant with me. And I thought I'd hung up, and I hadn't hung up. And I heard him say to his wife, he said, sounds like a man with a plan. Sounds like a man with a plan. I like what I'm hearing. And I thought, yeah, okay. That's what he said when he went back to his wife. I mean, in other words, he said, man, I didn't know about this guy, but yeah, I like what he's saying. And so, folks, that's what's going to happen all over the country when people find out, when the mainstream media stops this collusion with the Republican National Committee, and people find out that I'm in the race, and they find out what my views are on the issues. That's why I'm asking you to help me. 20-20-20 Pathway to Victory. Pray for me 20 minutes a week. Just include me in your prayer time. That's all. That's really all that boils down to. You say my name and talk about me and my campaign, and that'll take up to 3 minutes a day that I'm asking you to pray for me. I believe in the power of prayer, folks. And pray for my breakthrough with the media. Pray that I raise the money that I need to raise. And here's the second $20.24 a contribution. If I get 1 million Americans to give me $20.24, we will have raised $20 million. That'll be enough for me to run my campaign, even though others will spend a lot more. That will be enough for me to run my campaign. $20.24, $20.24, $20.24. And then last but certainly not least, talk to 20 people. And again, or as many as you can. If it's not 20, 15, 10, 5, 3, one, but talk to somebody else and ask somebody else to support my campaign. Ask them to do the 20-20-20 pathway to victory too. Say, hey, he's got a 20-20-20 pathway to victory. Pray for him 20 minutes, give $20.24 as often as you can, and talk to 20 people or as many as you can. I tell you, folks, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. I was on communicating earlier with my campaign manager about the primary season and the elections coming up. Look, even though I will not be on that stage tonight, folks, it's not going to matter who was on the first debate stage. It's going to matter who's the last person standing when the primaries are over. That's what's going to matter. And that's what we're shooting for. That's what we're working on. So listen, God bless each and every one of you. Go to my website, ewjacksonforpresident.com, ewjacksonforpresident.com. Don't forget my book, Sweet Land of Liberty, Reflections of a Patriot Descended from Slaves. You read this book, you'll get to know me, and you'll get to know how I love America and what I believe America needs in order to be the country that we need to be, in order to secure America's future. Stand up. Step up, speak up, refuse to back up, because we cannot be defeated if we will not quit, because we are on God's side.